So this is the DJI Osmo Mobile 6, a small 3-axis foldable smartphone gimbal that fits in your pocket, and it's packed full of features, and it's just had 2 new updates. Let's check them out. Okay, so everything you just saw was shot on this, the DJI Osmo Mobile 6. And if you like what you just saw and you're looking to level up your smartphone videos, this could be a really great option. But as always, I'm going to show you what it can do, give you some tips, tell you what I like about it, tell you what I don't like about it. And then you can make up your own mind as to whether you think it's any good or not. A big thanks to DJI for sponsoring this video. As always, all gear used in this video will be linked in the description below. Okay, now, before we jump into the 2 new updates, one of which, by the way, I haven't seen in any other smartphone gimbal. Let's quickly start by covering some of the basics. So as you can see, this gimbal is tiny. It easily fits in your pocket, so it's great for travel or anyone looking for a gimbal that's small, lightweight, and easy to carry. Quick launch. The Osmo 6 has magnetic connection with instant app launch, meaning as soon as you take it out of your pocket and unfold it, the gimbal will automatically fire up and connect to the DJI app so that you never miss a shot. It feels a bit like the smartphone equivalent of gunslinging. Modes. The Osmo 6 has all of the modes that you would expect from a smartphone gimbal plus more. We've got FPV mode. In this mode, the gimbal follows all of your hand movements, pan, tilt, and roll, giving you an immersive first-person perspective. It's perfect for action shots where you want to capture quick, dynamic movements. We've got tilt locked mode. In this mode, the camera's tilt axis is locked and only follows the pan axis or left to right movement. This is useful when you want to maintain a stable horizon while panning left or right. We've got follow mode. In follow mode, the camera follows the movement of the gimbal's tilt and pan axis, but the roll axis remains steady. This is great for smooth shots where you want the camera to naturally follow your movements. Spin shot mode. In spin shot mode, the joystick controls the rotation of the camera, giving a barrel roll effect. This is useful for creative shots that add a dramatic spinning effect to your footage. I like to use this for slow motion shots pushing forward or pulling back. Timelapse and hyperlapse modes. These modes allow you to easily capture both time lapses where the camera is static and the footage is sped up, as well as hyperlapses where the camera is moving but your scene is sped up. A great way of giving your videos more interest and pace. There's also panorama mode. In this mode, the Osmo 6 will take multiple photos and stitch them all together to create a wide panoramic shot. You can also use this to create the clone effect. What's great about this is that the gimbal will not only take all of the images for you, but it will instantly edit them. Great for a bit of fun or for capturing landscapes and broader scenes. And lastly, we have active track mode. And this is where things get really interesting because DJI have just released a new firmware update, Active Track 6.0. But what does this mean? Well, basically it means that they've massively improved the tracking capabilities of this gimbal. It's faster and more accurate. You can activate this by using the DJI Mimo app. I originally tested this out in last week's video where I attached the gimbal to an electric zip line and had the gimbal track me, and I was really surprised by how well it did. But what other ways could you use Active Track to improve the look of your films and videos? Well, the first is for capturing solo B-roll. If you're looking to capture shots of yourself but don't have a camera operator with you, this is where Active Track comes in incredibly useful. You can enable Active Track by either using this trigger on the back of the gimbal or by using gesture control. So by simply holding your hand up like this, the gimbal will know to lock on and track you wherever you go. So you can now add much more interesting movements to your shots when shooting solo compared to static shots where you just walk through the frame. Now, AI tracking isn't anything new. I've seen this in gimbals before, but the new DJI update really does a good job of keeping you locked on. I've been really testing this out recently, and even if you go behind something and the gimbal loses its track, as soon as you reappear, it immediately starts tracking you again, and it does this almost instantly. quickly. It's also really good at remembering what it's been told to track. Take this herd of cows, for example. If I lock onto this cow in the middle, the gimbal will now keep this cow in the center of frame. I can move the camera from side to side and the gimbal does all the hard work for me. But let's say I move the gimbal down behind this rock and it loses its track. Well, when I lift the gimbal back up, it immediately identifies the original cow and carries on tracking. Now, bearing in mind that all of these cows look pretty much identical, this is really impressive. I did this multiple times to try and confuse the gimbal into tracking a different cow, but every time it locked on to the exact same one. Also, you don't need to capture shots of yourself or cows for that matter with Active Track. There are many ways that you can use it. I find it comes in particularly useful when you're shooting something that you want to keep in the center of frame, especially if you're new to using a gimbal and struggle to get a nice steady shot. For example, let's say you wanted to capture a shot of this window. Without Active Track enabled, it can be really difficult to keep your focal point in the center of frame. But if I now enable Active Track, I can do this by simply just drawing a box around it like this. I can now start walking and the gimbal will do all the hard work for me, keeping my focal point in the center of frame for a much smoother shot. So perfect for anyone just starting out and new to smartphone filmmaking. Now, a couple of other features that I really like about this gimbal, and the first one is this built-in extension pole. I find this really useful to capture shots where you just need a little bit more reach. This could be a shot pulling back through a tight space, for example, a crane shot rising up to reveal your location. Being able to get your phone up just that little bit higher can make all the difference. Equally, this comes in incredibly useful when you want to capture shots lower to the ground. This could be a shot pushing forward and rising up, or maybe you're shooting a solo B-roll sequence and you want to capture some shots of your feet walking through your location. There are many creative ways that you can use this extension pole. Also, this little zoom wheel on the side of the gimbal is something that I find myself using often. It enables you to go from a wide shot to a tight shot incredibly quickly without having to touch your phone. For example, I could capture a wide shot sliding to the right of this sheep in the background, then quickly zoom in to capture the exact same shot again, only this time using a much tighter focal length. Then in the edit, we can now cut from this wide shot to this tight shot for a much smoother transition between these two clips. Now, the next big update, and something that I haven't seen in any other smartphone gimbal, and great for you Apple lovers out there, because you can now turn your Apple Watch into a remote control for your gimbal. You can do this by using the DJI Mimo app, and this will turn your watch into not only a remote control, but also a monitor and a joystick. This means you can now control your gimbal directly from your wrist. You'll be able to see what your camera is capturing, you can adjust the angle of the gimbal, switch between portrait and landscape modes, and also stop and start recording without needing to hold your phone or gimbal. And this gives you much more flexibility to frame and compose your shots from a distance. For example, when the gimbal is tracking you, you're limited to shots where you're in the center of frame. But by using your watch as a remote, you can now capture a shot that tilts down to reveal your location to create a bit more intrigue. Plus, you can also enable Active Track right from your watch to help you set up shots quicker and easier when shooting solo. So, a couple of really great features for anyone looking to level up their smartphone videos. Cons. Now, no product is perfect, so what are some of the cons and how could this gimbal be improved? Well, the first is the gimbal's tilt axis. I would love to see a bit more range and motion. You are limited to how much the gimbal will tilt up and down, which makes capturing shots low to the ground very difficult. Now, the workaround for this is to put your gimbal in underslung mode like this. This will get it much closer to the ground. Not a deal breaker, but if you're someone that values and appreciates a lot of flexibility in your tilt axis, maybe this isn't the gimbal for you. AI tracking. By far, the AI tracking in this gimbal is the best I've ever used in terms of speed, accuracy, and identifying your subject, but you are limited to having your subject in the center of frame. It would be great to be able to choose where in the frame you can place your subject. This way, you could give yourself a little less headroom, you could really dial in your framing and composition. You could put yourself on the rule of thirds, for example. This seems like a pretty simple fix with a future firmware update, so fingers crossed. And lastly, the magnetic clamp. Now, this is a really cool design and allows you to really quickly connect your phone to your gimbal. But the magnetic clamp must be exactly in the middle of your phone, because if your clamp is too far to the left, it will press and hold the side button and volume button simultaneously. And on an iPhone, this will trigger the emergency services, or at least it does here in the UK. So I've had to have a couple of apologetic calls with the phone operator, so do be careful with your clamp placement. But to summarize, the DJI Osmo Mobile 6 is an excellent tool for beginners looking to step up their smartphone filmmaking. It's a portable, easy to use gimbal that helps you capture smooth, professional looking videos. The foldable design makes it really convenient for travel, and Active Track 6.0 is by far some of the best auto tracking I've seen in any smartphone gimbal. So if you're looking to capture shots of yourself or struggle with framing and composition and keeping things in the center of frame, this would be a really great option. I will put a link to the Osmo 6 in the description below. And if you would like to learn 10 go-to gimbal moves that will massively level up your shots, then be sure to check out this video here. But that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.